Dharamsala, a bustling hill station in northwest India, is the seat of the Tibetan government in exile. In 1959, the People's Republic of China invaded Tibet. The Dalai Lama, spiritual and temporal leader of the Tibetan people, fled to India along with over 100,000 Tibetans. They crossed the Himalayas by foot to take refuge in India. Every year, it is estimated another 1,000 Tibetans leave their homeland due to continued oppression. They arrive in India destitute and only find work as poorly paid road workers. But in India, they are free to practice their religion, maintain their culture, and live freely as Tibetans. In 1960, a Tibetan government in exile was formed to provide education and social services for those Tibetans living in exile. So what's happening now? What's the current situation in Tibet?
The situation is extremely terrible, extremely violent. Because as we know, in the media, there's this all this talk about self-immolations. More than 100 Tibetans actually self-immolated people. There are other issues of cultural disruption, cultural alienation, economic marginalization. So the situation is extremely urgent, but at the same time there are also hopes, signs of hope in the fact that all the Tibetan people have now have reached a consciousness of being Tibetan. The fact that the self-immolations, not just the self-immolations, but other forms of protest has actually unified the whole Tibetan people to resist against the Chinese. Yes, on the one hand there's despair, but then also on the other hand there's hope.
Now, and what is the feeling here in the Tibetan community in exile?
The feeling is mixed, a mix of despair, sadness, but at the same time pride, joy and hope. Despair because the conditions are extremely terrible, but at the same time hope or pride because the Tibetan people have not given up to oppression. They have resisted, they have kept their hope, they have kept their dignity. And they've shown, that despite the small population of Tibet, despite the overwhelming Chinese might, Tibetan people can still rise up, and rise up in such a way that is very inspiring in the sense that they never harm the Chinese enemies, whether it's the poets or even the self-immolators. It's purely non-violent, very inspiring. I think the world can actually learn a lot from the Tibetan resistance.
Supporting the hopes of the Tibetan people to educate their children, and with the blessings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Tibetan Children's Education Foundation was founded in 1995.
Something that I was very excited about, especially on the sponsorship program, was that many of the persons that they brought up for sponsorship, they were going to be the first ever in their family to have any education.
Yes.
Ever.
Parents of these kids, they were sweater sellers, they were workers, that's why we opened the hospital.
Specifically for the Tibetans in exile, the transmission of our culture is so huge.
Oh yes.
Because in our particular situation, one of our best hopes ever is to try and transmit our identity and our culture to the children. Tibetan parents do it, but for us, the schools, we are also actively involved in this transmission of the culture, and that's what Kitailing does. And if you look at Kitailing today, you will see that the Tashikil monastery is our next door neighbor. Down north, we have Tibetan families, so we are surrounded by Tibetan atmosphere. And then if you have a good dance, music, religious instrument, the children in Kitailing grow up being more Tibetan. And so of course they learn English and computers. So we have one side you try and give them a modern education, whereas on the other side you try and give them an education which roots them in their culture. And I believe that TCF, we actively help them when we help institutions like exile.
I came to Kitseling here in 2007 for the first time to view the hostel and was so impressed by it. Just really blew me away that all of the money that we get in sponsorship actually goes right to these children and to wonderful programs for cultural preservation, Tibetan language, supplemental education. It's all just wonderful.
Our hopes, of course, is to have some meeting with the administration of the new administration of the Tibetan government in exile, to see what they think is the most needed and valuable thing our foundation should be doing in the relationship to helping children. And but even if we continued and did nothing more than what we're doing right now, it still would be very satisfying work for a lifetime.
The foundation collaborated in the building of the Kitseling Educational Hostel and began an educational sponsorship program for poor refugee children. To date, Tibetan Children's Education Foundation has sponsored over 500 children at $45 a month.
I really want to thank all the sponsors. Thanks for everything, whatever you have done. We really gonna miss. We never ever forget your kind support towards us. Wherever we are today, it's all because of you.
TCEF takes direction from the Tibetan people. We regularly meet with the Department of Education and various social service agencies to determine what projects best serve the people. It was a real honor to meet with Dr. Lobsang Sanghi, the democratically elected Prime Minister. Dr. Sanghi, knowing the urgency of the Tibetan situation, yet maintaining great hope, left his position at Harvard University and has dedicated himself to serving the Tibetan people.
For the comparative nursing, my salary is also $350 a month, so
And you're very well educated.
Yeah.
then I left my job. That's true. That I chose on voluntarily. I left my job at Harvard, left America, and returned.
We came here today and we met with Guchu-san, we met with Tibet Charity, we met with Rokpa, and we're just trying to get a feel as to how TCEF can help the community.
I often say, when people ask me, what can you do? I often say, what is your main interest? What is your main goal? Because need is quite a few. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yesterday
so
was
much.
10 March, now 18th is our parliamentary session. It's very kind of you to come.
Oh, thank you so
Very
much.
kind
for
of you to
saying
see.
that.
In 1959, on March 10, all the Tibetans people all over the world, they rose up against the Chinese. And the Chinese actually crushed the rebellion. And following that rebellion, many Tibetans, thousands of Tibetans actually, led by their leader, the Dalai Lama, actually escaped to India. And since then, the March 10 has been celebrated as the Tibetan National Uprising Day.
Guchu-sam here in Dharamsala is an organization dedicated to ex-political prisoners.
No clothes. And there is weddings.
Yes. Many arrive in India with nowhere to stay, no jobs, and little education. Many have long-standing health problems as a result of torture. Guchu-sam's primary goal is to provide food, shelter, financial assistance, medical care, psychological support, jobs, and education to these men and women who've suffered so greatly. TCEF supports this program through our Elder Sponsorship Program at $45 a month. This is the Jampalong Elder Home, supported by the Tibetan government. It is home to over 200 destitute elders. TCEF sponsors elders not only here but throughout other refugee settlements in India. We are always so impressed with the kind, loving care they are given.
Those who can't able to do, washing and all, we are helping them and buying things and everything. And also for the old people, we are giving massage, clinical body massage, training from one Japanese lady. We got training from that.
Great.
Everything, yeah, we are doing.
How many patients do you see in their home?
Around, we have 40, 50, but more than that, we are getting every time. Sometimes they're having problems, then everyone can call us and we are going there.
We do this program in Sikkim in a place called Yuksum. These children are very poor. So what we do is we provide a lunch program for them. We pay for their lunch. We've bought them beds and clothing and whatnot. And then this is a hostel that now has a third floor that we work with in Padamchan, Sikkim. These children are Tibetan, Nepali, and Bhutia, kind of mixed. Very, very poor. There's no work. They're children of road workers. Their village is very high, and they come down to live in this hostel. We have done annual school nurse type health screening, heights, weights, hearing exams, and here we made a huge difference in at least one young man's life. We include on our service trips vocational skills such as tailoring and carpentry. We have been doing an annual service trip since 2009, an opportunity to visit our service sites, monitor our progress, assess new needs, and share our skills and friendships. We almost always stop here in Siliguri, a bustling market town, to buy much needed supplies. Here, crossing the streets is the main challenge of the day. Due to the generosity of TCEF supporters, we are purchasing computers for the Sukhavati hostel, not without difficulty. Happiness in your hand, yes. We need to do this 70 more times.
The latest configuration in India right now is Core i5.
Windows 7, Office, Photoshop.
Finally, money in hand, we purchased 15 computers, printers, and a generator. TCEF feels computer knowledge is essential to modern education. These computers will be used by 150 children. Our funds also provided a computer teacher for 2 years.
This is a whole generation of computers. If you don't have the basic knowledge of computers, you will not get jobs anywhere. Therefore, they have sent computers for you to learn computers. What is this? This one? Keyboard. This one? CPU. This one? Monitor. Very good.
On the road again to Yuksum, a rural community where we work with the young monks of the Dibdi Monastery. Here we are enjoying a morning meeting before heading up to our site. We do an annual basic health screening here.
Here you go.
Very good.
Good boy.
This is a bird called a flamingo. Flamingo. Oh, you know what this is? Fox.
These wonderful warm woolen vests are made by Knitters for Peace in Helena, Montana. And they're gifts for these young monks to stay warm because it's
look
so
at that smile.
cold. This here, how about this one? This one looks like, oh, how about this one? Does that look good? Yeah, give me a big smile, huh? TCEF continues sponsoring the lunch program. Still, $4.35 a day for 30 monks provides a meal of dal, rice, and veggies, their most nourishing meal of the day. On the road again to eastern Sikkim on the border of Tibet and Bhutan to Sukhavati Hostel. Here we continue our annual health screenings.
Say ah. You're 7. Very good. Sore throat, your throat? Let's take a look at your throat. Does that hurt? Yes. Let's look at your teeth.
That thing, that.
Oh, nice teeth. Good girl.
यो यसो बन्द गर कि अहिले उहिले के देखाउँछ त्यो भन् ल जोरले भन्नुपर्छ है
We include an annual dose of anti-parasitic medications due to the unclean water. Heights and weights are recorded so we can monitor general health. Looks like little Karma broke his thumb. We bring him to the small local hospital in Rongli, where we have established a relationship last year with Dr. Budia, a dentist. Dr. Budia now makes a regular visit to our hostel, and their dental health has greatly improved. We bring books and art supplies. There is no formal art program, and the children look forward to our arrival with all kinds of art supplies. Here, the children are drawing pictures to send to their sponsors. An ongoing exchange art program with children from schools in the U.S., mainly Seattle, Helena, Montana, and Boston. Here, these prayer flags are from Seattle Alternative School. Both sides of the world treasure this exchange and eagerly await the coming year's art. So everybody
You can smell them.
either this or this and one lotion. Our Women's Health Night was full of giggles, but we had their attention. We empower these girls by teaching them they can say no, and here they practice.
And so it's really important to know that it's your body. You decide.
No!
Let's hear it again. Come on, Shanti.
Oh, Jeet Maya, it was so good to see you. Take care, we'll see you next year, huh? Bye! What can I say? Boys will be boys anywhere in the world. If you could look 5 years down the road,
Yeah.
What do you want in the next 5 years for your hostel and your school?
I need many things. What must we need is sponsorship for the children.
We at TCEF will continue to work on sponsorship.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the TCF. Thank you very much. And we will see in the not the short time. We go to the long time. You know? So this is a service tip is very useful because children are very happy and when the service team work with us, and also the children and villager people, they know what is important to do the medical or arts or whatever, you know. So very useful. I would like to everybody come to the to Sikkim to serve for the service team. Thank you very much.
So yes, not just musicians, but poets, essayists have been put in prison. And now the Tibetans inside Tibet are celebrating actually the courage.
So speaking of living in exile here in India, what does that do to culture? I mean, we're combining cultures here. Tibetans have come to live here in India, and you don't have citizenship in India, but India allows you to be here and allows you to be Tibetan.
Right.
So your culture is allowed to be kept alive,
Right.
but it's influenced by being in India.
Right. That's very true, especially if you live in exile. Exile is, the state of exile is that you are not grounded. There's this lack of being attached to the native or to the ground. But at the same time, exile also gives you that different perspective, being mixed with different cultures. And the good thing about India is that although we don't have citizenship rights, but India allows to flourish our culture. India allows to study our own literature, our own drama, our own music, our own religion. India allows to build Tibetan schools, Tibetan libraries. And at the same time, the Indian school, we learn English. So through English, we get access to different literature and culture. We can read Shakespeare. But it is not easy, reading Shakespeare is not easy. Reading Tibetan literature is not easy. You have to really fight. You have to really struggle. You have to, especially for a Tibetan refugee, when the economic conditions are so poor. Very difficult. It's a huge challenge. So that's why many young Tibetans are not able to read them. But then there are other Tibetans as well who are able to read them. So yeah, it's a kind of mixed situation. It's very, very tough. But also, yes, a sense of hope and opportunity as well. When it comes to culture, when it comes to literature, when it comes to beauty and humanity, it is not about the numbers. It is about the conscience. It is about the honesty. It is about how you overcome the suffering. So yeah, on the other hand, Tibetan people have been going through terrible times, but then terrible times are also like a kind of opportunity to show your humanity, to show your endurance.
Despite living in another culture as refugees, Tibetan culture has endured in exile. TCEF supports cultural preservation and transmission projects in refugee communities and brings Tibetan culture here to the West. We at TCEF are honored to assist the Tibetan people through our project. There is great urgency to preserve this culture based on loving kindness and nonviolence. You can help by supporting our programs, sponsor a child's education, support a destitute elder, give that elder some lasting dignity in his last days. Again, TCEF is honored to support Tibetan people. Please join us.